and I blog at roulettereader.wordpress.com.
And I'm Dawn, and I blog at bangbangbookblog.com.
And today we come to you with our review of Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. Probably one of the most anticipated sequels and or books of 2016.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to do a spoiler-free edition first, and then we will give our rating, and then move into a spoiler edition. And we will let you know when we do that, so you can stop listening if you haven't read the book yet. But here we go.
Okay, so we'll start with an overview. And Kaz and his gang return from their heist with their precious cargo, only to find that the person who hired them won't pay up. So that's pretty much the spoiler-free version of it if you have not read Six of Crows. Just to do not an overview, but we reviewed Six of Crows last year, and I think we both gave it 5s. It was our favorite of last year. So just so you know what you're getting yourself into as we go on to Crooked Kingdom. So now we'll talk about what we did not like about the book.
If you have something, I'll let you go right off the bat.
I have nothing.
You didn't dislike anything?
No.
Wow. Okay.
No.
I definitely do not agree. No,
Okay.
I mean, there was nothing in this book that was, like, glaringly negative, which was great.
Yeah.
However, I did not give it quite the high rating that I gave Six of Crows. And you made a good point when I was discussing it with you last week, is that you said, well, I mean, what do you expect? It's Kaz and his gang. Of course they're going to, foil this plan and come out on the other end. What did surprise me was certain characters, like where they ended up in the book.
Okay.
Again, I can't say any more details because I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but I don't know. I found myself a little bit kind of bored, kind of in the beginning to middle of the book, and I don't really know why. I felt like I was expecting something a little more different from this book, and I didn't quite get that, because it was, is the same thing. Kaz is a planner, he's a thief, and he's a smuggler, so that's what you're going to get.
Yeah. And
in the same time, that was what I liked about the book. So it's weird.
It is. And I get what you're saying. Kaz, he is kind of similar to Selena in that she has plans that the reader does not know.
Yes.
Or even the people surrounding her do not know. And so when things just happen to fall into place, you're just like, oh, okay, well, that was okay. You just accept it because she's smarter than everybody else and she plans it out. And so this was kind of the same as the first book. And at first I was like, oh, here we go. But then I realized this is his character. Right. This is what the book is about. This is what this group is about. Exactly. So I kind of got over that and was like, okay, well.
My only, and again, this is a positive as well, but at the same time, okay, I'll just say it. I felt that this book focused more on the individual characters than the action, whereas the first book was a lot of action with the ice court and them having to get out, free this prisoner and, solve the whole Jurda Param thing, and it was very action heavy, and this one had a lot of action, but it was more intense character building than we did not get in the first book. So that was kind of, this was more character driven than action driven. Yeah. And it was good, but that was also one of the things that I kind of wanted some of that action in this book. And you had to really wait until the end to get there.
Yeah.
I felt.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I kind of have that, but I have that in the good part.
Exactly. That's what is so weird about this book. That is a positive and that is a negative for me. So that's really the only complaint I have.
Yeah.
And it's not even really a complaint.
Yeah. I have one bad, but I'll save that to when we say the rating. It'll make more sense. Okay, so what we liked about it, I really liked it's Ketterdam. Apparently, I've been saying Ketterdam. I don't know. I like this world that she's built, and there's even a more intricate map where you actually see streets and like
that really
locations.
Helped a lot.
Yeah. This place, it's a pretty terrible place. I wouldn't want to live there, but it's great because it's so diverse. And one of the best things I like about the book is that all of the characters are diverse. And, there's varied sexual orientations, but that's not a focus.
Right.
It's just who they are. And in this world, it's not about what you look like, or who you go to bed with. It's power. If you are powerful, then you are important. If you are not, then you're not important. Yeah. And I really appreciated the varied races of the people. And you knew, I think the Shu were Asian, and the Mini were African, and
the Fjordans are, your typical, like Northern European white group of people. Yeah.
And what is Inej? She's
Inej is Suli.
So
she's like
Indian.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you could tell by she grouped them out, but I just really like that you couldn't. It wasn't a focus on the book.
For sure. I really loved the deeper look that we get at certain characters in the book, specifically Wylan and Jesper. I didn't quite connect with their characters so much in the first book, but this one really goes into where they come from, who they are, certain things that they've been struggling with in their life, and I wasn't expecting that.
I was, because Wylan did not have chapters in book 1.
I was expecting with him, but not Jesper. Like, I felt like we got a good amount of Jesper in the first book.
And I did so, because when I'm reading Jesper, I was like, I don't remember that. I don't remember that. Like, I didn't remember his background so much. I remember that he was a student, and, you know, he had some issues with his father and money, and he's a gambler, and, you know, I remember that, but, like, his father, and I didn't remember any of that stuff.
But either way, it was beautiful, because they touch on, like, why he has a difficult relationship with his father, and, like, who he was before he came to Ketterdam, and some of that it was like really sad, but it was really like good at the same time. I wanted more from Kaz in this book. Maybe that's a negative that I should have added. His chapters were very few and far between.
Yes.
He was so busy plotting away in this book that we got all of Kaz in the first book. When you find out what happens to him and his brother, that's as deep as she goes with his character. And I wanted more from him in this book, and I didn't quite get as much as I wanted. So that is why, well, we'll talk about that when we go into the ratings and stuff.
I kind of felt like, I feel like Bardugo does that strategically. I think we got all of Kaz in the first book, like you said, and I think maybe this book was more about the supporting characters, and I felt like this book was more about we know their backstory, most of their backstory, and now it's about their survival and what happens. Do they find their happiness? So I felt like it was just kind of about where they're going to end up and how they deal with their circumstances. Yep. Which, you know, I like that. I mean, how much more background of...
True.
But yeah, now that you mention it, all of Kaz's chapters were either about him and Inej's relationship. It really wasn't about him and his brother, or he was so hell-bent on getting revenge on Pekka Rollins, not Pekka, the other guy. Was it Pekka?
Well, yeah. It's both him and Haskell.
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, I was looking forward to his chapters, and they were really sparse.
And no, everything you say is very true. We got the Kaz that we needed in the first book with his backstory, and I think what I mean by I wanted more is I wanted more of his progression forward. Now that we know that story, now that we know how he feels truly about Inej and how she feels about him, I kind of, with their relationship, I wanted more. But I understand at the same time that these are both deeply wounded characters, and that's not just going to happen.
Yeah, so I'm going to say more about that in the spoiler.
Yes, we have to leave that for the spoiler. But, and, you know, we got Nina and Matthias's deeper backstory in the first book, too. So I felt like their presence in this book was a little bit more surface, and I'll go into that again a little bit more in the spoiler edition.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can say. Not really.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I liked the pacing. I prefer a character-driven book as opposed to a plot, and I don't really like action. And I've said this many times just because I have a hard time picturing it, and I tend to skip it anyway. So if it's like fighting action, I don't care. But this is more of like a heist type of a bigger picture thing, which was fine. But I did feel like there was a lot of character development and dialogue, and then there was a little bit of action mixed in, but I do agree it was a lot more character development. But I really like that as opposed to a lot of action. I could care less.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy a good action-packed novel, but I do like good characterization. I mean, the characters are why you read the books. You know, it's what makes you stick with the book. So
I will say that one other thing that there are a lot of characters in this book and a lot of main characters, but you know exactly who everybody is without even reading the chapter titles, because they're all individuals, and I think that can be difficult for authors to have so many characters in a book and they all have different identities. So
Hello,
I thought that
Truth
was pretty
Witch.
good. Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. She has really fleshed these characters out, and they all have such different voices. You know immediately when you're reading about Nina, because she's got this like sarcastic edge. You know, I love that she does that. That she's all her characters are very individualistic. Rating?
Right, yeah. So I gave it a 4.5 because I know this sounds a little weird, but I loved Six of Crows, and it was different, especially different from the Grisha trilogy. Just the writing and the way the book progressed and all the characters and everything. And so because Six of Crows was so different and new and great, and Crooked Kingdom was the same as that, I couldn't say it's better or as good because I read it already. It was Six of Crows. So I couldn't give it a 5 just because it's not new anymore.
I completely agree.
So I gave it a 4.5. But it wasn't anything wrong with it. I said, I had nothing bad to say about it. It was just that it wasn't new anymore.
Yep, I had the exact same rating, and I feel the exact same way. I mean, we got the best of both worlds with this series. We got the action-packed aspect in the first book, and then we got the more deeper, characterized, driven plot in the second. So, I mean, overall, very well-rounded series.
Excited about that. I did not realize that it's a duology until like a week ago. Because I'm like, oh, book 2! And I'm like, oh no, it's only book 2. Okay, so we are now going to go into the spoiler edition. Our next podcast will be, we do it every Thursday. I upload it every Thursday, so our next one will be Thursday. So we're going to start the spoiler edition in 5, 4, 3, 2. All right,
let's talk about Wylan.
Okay.
That's what I think he carried this book. The book was really a lot about Wylan and Jesper, of course, but Wylan, okay, we knew that his mother had died when he was very young in the first book, right? Okay, I didn't remember reading that specifically. Obviously, he has a horrible relationship with his father, and holy crap. Basically, we find out that his mother is not dead, and that she is living in a, basically a mental institution on some random, is it an island or is it a different city?
I don't know.
Somewhere else, way outside of Ketterdam.
Somewhere else.
I know. And he finds this out when they're doing a heist in his father's house. And Kaz kind of course, as Kaz does, leads him through these steps to find out on his own where his mother is. And so I thought that was so sad. That was a heartbreaking chapter to read. Oh my god, his whole story is so sad. And when we find out also that his dad planned to send him, quote unquote, air quotes rather, to this music school, yet again on the other side of Kerch. And on his way there, he realizes, my dad never meant to send me anywhere. He's got me with these two thugs, and they do try to kill him. Wylan gets away by some miracle, and essentially that's how he meets up with Kaz and his gang. So that was a huge bomb that was dropped in this book, kind of like, wow.
Yeah, but I think Bardugo set that up really well, especially she set it up well through Kaz, because Kaz knew that if he was just like, your dad's horrible, Wylan would like, no, but he really had to make him realize how bad his father was, and he did it by exposing that his mom is still alive, and he put her in the psych ward.
I love what Kaz says, that he's like, I needed you righteous.
Yeah.
I was like, that is so, oh my god, I love that quote. That quote was great. So, yeah, he needed Wylan absolutely on the edge of, like, anger to the highest degree so that he would, agree to help him with this plot. But
I also like how in this world you have these obvious horrible people, these thugs and their murderers, and then you have the politicians who are equally as terrible, like Van Eyck. I think he was probably worse than Pekka. He was terrible.
Awful. Yeah.
So, yeah. And at the end, he's just like begging and...
Oh my god, that was great to see.
Yeah.
But I love that Casper knows who works with him so intimately, because he knew that if he told Wylan his actual plan, that, like, I'm gonna put this fake will in your dad's safe so that you are the one that actually inherits all of this money, he would have still disagreed because he didn't want that, and he knew that Wylan didn't want the money, so he had to give him another reason outside of himself to go through with his plot. And I loved when all of those pieces came together at the end. I thought that was awesome. Any other things to say about Wylan?
No.
Okay.
In the chapter where I do not remember him looking like Kauai. When did that? I don't remember.
That happened at the end, and that's probably you probably skipped it because it was.
No, I read every word in that book. I read every word in Six of Crows.
Dawn usually skips action, so that's why that was an accusation.
Did Nina change him?
Nina changed him, so she had to take the drug to change him into Kauai so that they could get him out. It was like whole part of the plan.
Okay.
So yeah, he was looking like him the whole book.
So when Jesper kissed him and thinking it was like,
that was a crazy scene because they kiss and Jesper's like, all I felt was disappointment. I'm like, what? This can't be happening. They are supposed to be together. And then when it's revealed that it was actually Kauai,
and he was just like, whatever, whoopsies, I did it on purpose. So I was just like, that's awesome.
I'm like, holy crap. Oh my goodness. Dang, Kauai was such a weird character to me. That was the only character that I did not like in this book. He was there, but he wasn't really there. He was just like a means to an end kind of situation.
Yeah. Yeah, he really didn't have... Which, I was shocked that he got his own card on her deck of cards.
No, he didn't.
He is on there.
I know, but it's Wylan.
No, Wylan's blonde.
If you look at the cards, there is no Wylan. It's Kauai.
Oh.
I had to look twice because it's a spoiler that he gets changed back.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was...
Why does he get his own card?
Yeah.
He's not a big character.
Nope, that was Wylan as Kauai.
Okay. Gotcha. That makes sense.
We're talking about there was a deck of cards, in case you guys don't follow Leigh Bardugo on her Instagram. She posted it the other day, and it was this really cool art, kind of similar to the poster that was sent out. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's really cool. Wylan and Jesper, yep, they kiss. They live their life happily together after the whole thing is said and done, which was really satisfying. I was so glad that happened.
I thought Jesper was going to be a healer. Like, I thought someone was going to be almost to death, and he was going to be like his mom and like heal them, and then he was going to die. Like, I'm like, somebody's going to die. I don't know who it's going to be. I had a feeling it was going to be Jesper, and I thought that he would die healing like his mom did. I thought he would go out the same way.
But he's not a healer. He's a fabricator.
Okay.
He's not a Corporal Nick.
I always get those confused.
Yeah, that's why he's a good sharpshooter, because he manipulates organic like metals and things like that. So yeah. What was I gonna say about them two? Something else I can't remember. We'll move on. Kaz and Inej?
Sure.
Okay.
I love them.
Indeed.
They're the best.
Yeah, they are the best.
The entire book, I wanted to kiss or something. And by the end of it, I was just like, oh God, please just hold hands. Can we get something? And he held her hand. And that was enough. I was like, I'm satisfied with that. I think it would have been inauthentic for them to start making out when they're both still, like you said, have their own personal issues.
I didn't really want them to, like, get any more physical than they did.
Yeah.
I just wanted him to actually say to her, like, don't go. And he does in his own way. So you have to kind of read in between the lines for that. Leigh Bardugo she didn't give it to us.
He did, kind of.
He did, kind of. But he knows that she's still leaving him, like, notes, and that she's still hanging out in his house. Yeah, I'm talking about, like, his last chapter.
Okay.
He knows that, obviously, she's been staying with Wylan, and so he knows that she's around. But at the same time, I love that he, like, didn't hold her back. That he gets her a ship, essentially. And that last scene where she sees these Sully people coming off this ship that came into the harbor, and she realizes that her, like, family and her parents are on the boat. Oh my God, crying, tears everywhere.
You say you don't cry.
I know. I didn't like gush, but I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
God, it's so beautiful. And so she, like, runs to her family. And what was it that he says as she's, like, running away? Let me get my book.
I don't know. I know that she introduces him to them. She introduces them. She was like, this is my friend Kaz.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. You just finished this book this morning, Elise.
I know. No, she doesn't say that.
She does.
Nope.
What does she say?
Inej saw them turn, saw her mother's grip her mother. Oh my God.
Father, mother.
Saw her mother grip her father's arm. They were running towards her. Her heart was a river that carried her to the sea. That's the last thing we see. They don't get introduced. I mean, it's assumed that essentially they do.
What the heck was I reading? Because I swear she said, this is my friend Cass.
Absolutely no idea.
Oh, God. Maybe I was just wishing it.
She does say, come with me, come meet them.
Oh, okay.
But they don't, like, we don't get that on the page.
Oh, okay.
It's all implied. Which is what I'm saying. Like, Lee forces us to imply a lot of things that are going to happen between Kaz and Inej, which is good because she does leave it up to you. I do like when authors do that, but at the same time, I just wanted him to, I don't know, I don't like reading romances
He does.
at all.
When they're on the boat and she was like, would you have come to get me? And he was like, I would crawl. I would do what I can't remember his exact quote, but he was like, I would crawl on my hands and knees to come and get you. And I thought right there kind of solidified it for her, where she was like, okay.
Yeah. That was what she needed.
Yeah.
That was what she needed. But yeah, this chapter in the end is beautiful. And that scene, there's a scene before all of this where she gets wounded and he's helping like put her bandages on and like he took his gloves off and it was just the most simple thing, but it was insanely like just beautiful. And, like, just the mixture of the ugliness of what's actually going on. Like, he's probably got blood on his hands at this point. And, like, I don't know. I'm just, like, picturing it in this, you know, crazy specific way. But, yeah, we do get a deal of resolution with these two characters, which I liked.
Yeah. Yeah, I love them. They have unseated Blue and Gansey because they were my favorite couple. But Kaz has not unseated Gansey. He's a close second, but I still love Gansey a little bit more. Why'd you say like that?
I'm sorry, because he's amazing. They're amazing characters. I didn't realize I did that. Nina Matthias?
Okay.
Oh, God.
I know. Matthias was probably my least favorite of the entire gang. And like I said, I knew somebody was going to go. I thought it was going to be Jesper, but it ended up being Matthias. And I wasn't upset about it. It was sad. I was sad for Nina.
It was very sad.
It's like, he's gone.
I was sad. I liked Matthias. He's like an implied Norwegian, and I'm Norwegian, so I love him. But I liked his character transformation in the first book, so I think that's why I liked his character.
I mean, I liked him, but he was my least favorite of all of them, so if anybody had to go, I wasn't upset that it was him. Mm-hmm. But I knew she had to bump one of them off.
I didn't see that coming. I don't know if it's just that I don't think about characters dying. I don't know. That surprised me.
I think I just kind of prepare myself. It's the last book. So I'm like, I'm just going to prepare myself. One of them's going to go. It's all told in third person. Sure. So one of them's going to go. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
I was just very sad that Nina now has to, like, live alone for a time.
I know. I was sad for her.
Like, they overcame so much to be together, and then this is what happens. It's like, oh, God. I don't know. I just didn't want that to happen.
And that his last scene with the wolf, and he's met it back.
Oh my God, that was so sad.
That was terrible.
Oh my God, when he told that story about his wolf earlier in the book, I'm like, oh God. As an animal lover, it just broke my heart.
I'm always just hoping in these books that somebody's gonna get healed.
Yeah.
Oh God, just be healed.
And that was what was so heartbreaking, is that she would have been able, like, 2 weeks ago, she would have been able to completely heal him, live a happy life together, so on and so forth. But her gift has changed since she took the drug to change Wylan into Kauai. She now can only manipulate dead matter instead of living matter. So that was what, actually, I did not like that. That is never explained.
No, he does kind of say, who was it, Matthias, that said, you know, the heart renders manipulate what? Light and dark?
Yeah, he says that technically the Grisha Order is called the Grisha Order of the Living and the Dead, but
I just chalked it up to, she used to manipulate life, and now that she's taken this drug, it has changed her to manipulate death. It just made it seem like it was serendipitous. That's how I kind of justified it.
And in Matthias' death, she couldn't do anything for him. Yeah, it's very sad. I don't know. I guess I was looking for a more, like, actual explanation. But yeah, I don't have anything else to say about Nina. That was a surprise. I didn't see that coming at all.
Yeah, which one?
Interesting twist. The dead matter situation.
Yeah, that was gross.
Yeah, it was very weird.
Especially when, because I had kind of forgot about Kaz's background, and he didn't like dead people, and I kind of forgot that he had to float back on his dead brother, which had to have been disgusting, and then heartbreaking at the same time. Like, his whole story was just terrible. Yeah. So, I mean, it was picturing the death and disease. It was a little gross.
Yeah, they basically, the thing that allows them to pull off their, like, second heist or get the money that they were initially promised is that they get dead matter from a body and spread it on other people so it looks like the plague is back, which is what killed his brother. And that was really disgusting. That was gross to read about.
Yeah, it was nasty.
Yeah.
I was actually hoping that the Darkling was going to come back somehow. Like, what? In the opening chapter, there's just this mass, this guy, this smoke or whatever. I was like, the Darkling? Is it the Darkling? No. I was a little bummed. They brought Nikolai back, which I loved him.
Yeah, they did.
And I was like, I'm reading it, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure Nikolai and the King are the same person. I was confused for a second, but then they cleared it up, and I'm like, no, I'm not crazy. Pretty sure I'm right. But I was glad to see him back, and he was a good time, as always. Genia and Zoya came back, so that was good. What else? What other spoilers can you spoil?
I'm trying to remember.
Okay, so you said the ending. Something about the ending?
I think it was just with, like, the Kaz and Inej thing. I appreciated that the book ended with Pekka Rollins' point of view, because he's a character that we haven't ever gotten in his head. And I mean, it's like Inej doing Kaz one last favor. Like, she basically made it certain that Pekka would never return to Ketterdam, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
But no, I was just making a comment about how I wanted more from Kaz and Inej, which we talked about earlier.
Oh, okay. I liked their story, and yeah.
Pekka, I guess, he does have one redeeming quality, that he, like, loves his son so much that he's willing to walk away from his empire. He'll build another one. That's what he implies that he's going to do, but just away from Kaz. So Kaz got some peace.
Yeah.
Which was great. I was pissed that he still didn't remember Kaz's brother's name at the end. It's just like, yeah, he's still a jerk. He's still an asshole. So, overall, great book. I was really pleased. I was happy with it. Yeah, it
was a great series.
Yep.
All right, so that's all we have.
Yes, it is.
So thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week.